Hello, everybody. It's Stephen here for the Idiot Quilter, and welcome to my weekly episode. This is episode number 192 for Tuesday, November the 8th, 2022. Welcome. So let's jump right into what I've been working on because I have been a busy boy. And let me just switch things over here. So this is what I call my wonky Christmas tree quilt. You've seen it in various pieces before, but it is now completely finished. I have it quilted and I have it bound and it's done and it's sitting on my shelf waiting for, I don't know what it's waiting for. We'll see. But on this particular one, this is the one where I did a lot of freestanding lace embroidery and applique. And my initial intention was to set up Quilt Path on my Lucy, which is my computerized system for my long arm, and make it skip over the various appliques so it wouldn't stitch over them, but it would look like the stitching had gone in behind it. And I do know how to set that up, and I did set it up for the first row, or is on Quilt Path, what it's called as a zone, and that worked out fine. But then when I set up the second zone, I somehow erased the settings, didn't realize it, let it do its little edge-to-edge design, and it went right over top of some of those little snowflakes that you see there. Well, you want to know something? It didn't cause me any grief. You couldn't even see that it had gone over them because I was using a fairly light thread color, as you can see in for my quilting. And I thought, it's a heck of a lot easier just to let that do that than it is to go in and tell it where not to go. Because it's not hard, but it's a little bit involved and time consuming. So I let it do its thing. But when I got to the bottom where the snowmen and the gifts are, I thought, should I let it applique over top of those? This could cause me grief. Well, I decided, what the heck? This was a whole experiment to start with, this quilt, because, my half square triangles were irregular sizes, so they're not trimmed up as best as they could be, so you got some jaggy edges and things like that on it. So I just went ahead and said, yeah, go for it. Nothing ventured, nothing gained. Well, I was very pleased with the result because it really added something to the plain fabric that I used in those appliques, in the gifts especially, and in the snowmen. And it didn't cause me any grief going over top of them. And it actually sort of secures the appliques even better to the quilt. So I did that. I wouldn't necessarily do this on a future quilt this way, but for this one, it worked out fine. So that one's all done. Now this was another sort of in-between project, clear my palette while I was doing all Christmas stuff. And, I'm sick of Christmas already, and we haven't even got there yet. So I did this one. It's called Chasing Rainbows. It was a free pattern, and I can't remember where it came from. It might have been Riley Blake. I'm not sure, but it is called Chasing Rainbows. I actually saw this pattern being done by Laura Coy on So Very Easy. And she said that the pattern didn't say to use a charm pack, but she felt that you could use a charm pack very easily. And so I did. I used 2 charm packs actually, and it went together very fast. It's not a huge quilt, but it's a fair size. I forget exactly what the dimensions are, but it's it's good full-size quilt, and I really love it. Those are batiks that I used. I had a couple of charm packs of batiks. I think they're batiks. Might be a mixture. But anyways, and you can see my quilting on it as well. So I think it turned out pretty good. And here's the back of it, and a little bit more of the quilting you can see in the back. And then this one, okay, this one's a weird quilt because, well, first of all, it's my own design. And when I say design, I'm using that term very loosely. It was basically scrap pieces from all the other Christmas quilts and projects that I've been working on for the last couple of months. And I didn't really want to throw them out or just let them accumulate in my scrap basket. So I started playing with them, and it, as I think I mentioned to you before, because I've shown you this in different phases, that center star was actually a prototype for some table runners. Um, so I just built the quilt around that. Just I had strips, I added those. Um, I had some half square triangles, I added those, and I added the borders, and it's now all quilted. And actually, I kind of like it. It's a little different. It almost looks like there was a definite design, uh, for putting this together. There really wasn't. There really wasn't, but I guess subconsciously I'm into symmetry. So, yeah, I got that all done. And another thing I'm starting to work on right now is I want to make a whole bunch of Christmas tote bags, but I want to do them relatively quickly because these are bags that I think I'm going to put some of my Christmas presents for various people in. So, well, a couple of months ago, I threw on some yardage, Christmas fabric, onto Lucy, layered it all, and just let Lucy go to town on it doing a quilted design. And then what I did was I cut out the pieces for this tote and assembled it. And I embroidered the pieces first. Walter thinks it's too busy, but that's Walter. I'm all about busy and bright colors. You know that about me. So, this fits my aesthetic. But I do understand, though, what he means about it. But, anyways, that one was sort of the prototype, but it came out pretty good. They're completely lined as well inside. I've made two so far. The other bag, I don't have a picture of it right now to show you, but I did a different embroidered design on it. And so on the weekend, I went off to Ultimate Sewing and I bought three different Christmas fabrics, and I bought 3 meters of each. And as I record this right now, I have got two of the Christmas fabrics all laid out on Lucy. And yesterday I started doing the quilting across it. So basically, I have two 3 meter by width of fabric Christmas fabrics all sandwiched on Lucy and being quilted with a snowflake design. I'm almost finished that, but that's going to be my basis for making the rest of my tote bags. And I also bought some lining fabric for it as well, or what I'm going to use for lining fabric. So I'm going to start, getting these on, cutting out the pieces once it's finished on Lucy, do some embroidery on the bag parts, and away we go. And hopefully I can get them done. And I should be able to, I need to make about a dozen of these. Okay, I have 2 done. I need 10 more. So we'll see how that all works out, right? Okay, so that's what I've been working on, but I did start another project. This is a pattern by Stephanie Stitches. I think everybody knows Stephanie. If you don't, look up her YouTube channel because Stephanie is great. And I did do an interview with Stephanie a while ago, so you can find that interview as well. But while I was doing that interview with Stephanie, in the background, she had a quilt that was made up of these blocks behind her, and I loved it. And she had the pattern. It's her own pattern. She designed it, and she sells it on her Etsy store. So I immediately, after the interview, actually went right onto her Etsy store and I purchased the pattern because I loved it. And if you remember, Walter had given me last Christmas a huge box of fat quarters that are just absolutely beautiful. They're called poured. And I've been waiting for a pattern that I feel is worthy of these fabrics. Well, Stephanie's is. And so I've started making the blocks. It's fairly easy design to do, but it really showcases these fabric. And I think when I get all the blocks done and put it all together, this is going to be a really fantastic quilt. But anyways, if you are interested in this pattern, do search for Stephanie Stitches, her Etsy store. Sorry, I don't have the link for it offhand, but I believe she puts it in her show notes for any of her videos on YouTube, because this is a really great pattern and very clearly written as well. So you might want to give it a try. So I'll keep you informed as to how far I get with that as I get there. Always lots of projects to do. Actually, just as an aside, I just thought of it, but I'm not going to do it. This particular pattern, Mosaic Stars, would make a really great Christmas quilt. And as I said, the blocks are fairly quick to make. So, yeah, possibility there. You still have time. You still have time. Okay, so the other thing I'm getting involved in is with Project Linus. Now, I have talked about this on several of my past videos as well, so I'm not going to belabor the point here, but this is a charity organization that donates quilts to children of all ages, basically, from, infants right up to late teens. And I am a retired school teacher, and although I make a lot of nasty comments about children, those of you who've been around for a while know what I mean. Um, I like kids. I do. And I especially like teenagers. And I worked with teenagers for 31 years. So, I know what teenagers are all about. And one of the things about teenagers is they get very much neglected in our society, or they get a bad rep. And yeah, there are some bad ones out there, let's face it. For a variety of reasons, they're bad. But the majority of kids that I taught, anyways, were good kids, really good kids. But in our society, people are always given things for babies or for toddlers, and they kind of forget about the older kids, the teenagers. So Project Linus looks after all children, and I thought it was for kids with cancer, but it's so much more than that. It's for kids who are going through very traumatic times. They may have become homeless, families going through, a divorce, and it's really taking a toll on the kids, as it does. Um, their house burned down, whatever. This is to show them that somebody cares about them. And quilts do that, don't they? They sort of wrap us up in warm, comfy feelings. So I thought this would be a worthy charity to donate quilts to and make quilts for. So that's my new goal. I may not get seriously into it until the new year because I want to finish up a few things I've got laying around here. In fact, some of the things that I want to finish up would probably work for Project Linus. So, yeah, I'm getting myself involved with that. And thank you to those of you that have already told me about the good work that Project Linus does, because there are many of you out there I have discovered now that are very much involved with this as well. And Project Linus is international as well, but they do have chapters that are local to your area. And see, that was the other criterion I wanted for a charity. I wanted my quilts to go to something local. I mean, yes, I know there's a great need for, quilts and things like that to go, overseas and things like that into war-torn countries. People are going through hell in other places of the world too. But my father always told me charity starts at home, and I do believe that. And so that's why I was really pleased to find a local branch of Project Linus near my community. And after my discussion with the chapter leader for that, the quilts do go to local kids. So that's great. And as I said, I'm focusing my attention on teenagers. Okay, so I have started another project. I don't know if I'm going to get this one done before Christmas. There's a lot to it. You've heard me talk about it before. It's called the North Pole Christmas Tree Skirt. It's an in the hoop project, mostly in the hoop embroidery, though with some in the hoop applique as well. It's a beautiful design. I've shown it before, but it has 45 pieces, large pieces that you have to, you know, work on your embroidery machine, and then when you get all the pieces done, you got to sew them all together. And yeah, and each piece takes about an hour to do or so. So I've got 6 pieces done. Yay. Now I only have 39 to go. So I am though doing some as sort of a tutorial, I'm thinking right now. I'm showing you the process of doing something like this, a project like this, because I've had other people who have looked at this pattern and have said, wow, that looks like very overwhelming. I don't think I could do it. But yes, you can do it. Yes, it is a big project. Yes, it will take time, but you can do it. So I have decided to record my progress as I do it, and I'm going to put that up each time I get a major part of the project done, or while I'm doing it, I'm making a video and I'll post it here. And my idea is, depending if this all goes well, is after I have the whole thing completed, whenever that will be, I will put all the bits and pieces of the videos together and you'll see it from beginning to end, and I will publish that as a tutorial video. But here is the very first part of that, where I talk about the pattern and where I talk about organizing my materials for it. So I'm going to insert that clip here. Today I thought I would talk about the North Pole tree skirt. This is an in the hoop embroidery project, and it is fairly involved. You can see here that it is a fairly good size. In fact, it comes in several sizes. It looks like a lot of fun to make, but I know that it's going to take a long time to make. And there's been some of you out there that have this pattern as well, and you may have been intimidated to start it, or you were just wondering, why did you buy it in the first place? When are you ever going to get it done? And yes, that's what I thought too. Now, this is a design by Juju, and this came from their site. It was 50% off when I bought it. The usual price for this is about $45 Canadian. I bought it in the tail end of August. They had a sale, and I think I got it for 50% less. So not only are these somewhat complicated and somewhat time consuming, but they can be expensive. But the end result is really worth it. So I am going to take you through my process in creating this. Now, there are about 48 different hoopings. So if you look at this picture of the finished product, you see these wedges. Well, each one of these wedges is a hooping. Actually, each one of these is 3 hoopings. And there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 of these. So actually I was wrong. There's not 48 hoopings, there's 45. 3 to complete each one of these spares. Now, the way you go about this is, well, there's several ways you could do it, but I think the most logical way is to do your inner blades first, then your middle sections, and then your outside sections last. Now, they're using shades of blue, and you're going to find that I am as well, but that's only because I looked in my stash and tried to decide what did I have for fabric. Now, I did not have Christmas fabric for this, not enough, because it takes about, they said 1.5 yards for each of these. Actually, I think it was 2 yards for the inner and the outer, and it was 1.5 yards for the very extreme outside. So basically, rounding it up, I need about 2 meters of fabric for this first ring, 2 meters of fabric for the second ring, and about 1.5 meters for the outside ring. So there's a fair amount of fabric that goes into this. Plus, you need batting as well, because this is quilt as you go sort of technique. So here you go. This is what the final product looks like. And what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to show you how to read the pattern, because it's important that you do read the pattern. Now, Juju Designs by Juju, I have found their patterns are very, very well written, and there's diagrams, actual pictures at each stage of the way. Below it shows you there's a variety of sizes you can make this in. It can be an 8 by 12, which works out to be 51.7 inches in diameter, so that's the largest. That's a fairly good size for a tree skirt. 6 by 10, it finishes at 44.7 inches, and that's the size I'm going to do. And then there's slightly smaller sizes as well. Okay, the second page of this actually breaks down each one of the hoopings, and this tells you some stuff. It says fabrics, batting, no-show mesh cutaway stabilizer, SF 101 interfacing, and scissors. Now, I'm going to use, I was using tearaway. I've already done the first blade, but here's the first mistake that I made. I got a little cocky. I've made these kind of things in the hoop applique kind of things many times before, and so I just kind of skipped over the supply list, and I probably shouldn't, because you need, it's talking about using no-show mesh cutaway stabilizer. I just used cutaway stabilizer. And in fact, I think I'm going to stick to just cutaway stabilizer because I'm not sure, or is there? I'll have to look this up. I'm thinking, do they actually, they must have a background piece that goes on this after it's finished. But maybe not. But either way, I think that using the cutaway stabilizer as opposed to the no-show mesh is going to give this a little bit more stability. And that's what I'm going to do it with. If by chance I don't like the way the back looks when I get it done, I can always put a backing piece onto it. Okay, so this shows you the material you need, the fabrics you need for each section depending on the size. I'm doing the one in the middle section, the 6x10 hoops it's called. That's the one that's going to give me the medium size skirt. So they talk about inside blocks and then the main block, and then they go down to, well, I'm not sure. Okay, this is why you need to read your instructions. There's an inner, a middle, and an outer, okay? Why does this not talk about the, oh, here we go, outer block. Okay, there it is. And there's some other notes here as well. Okay, so you have all of that. Now, they have these pieces numbered, and I'm not sure what these numbers correspond to. I imagine some of these are the same, like 6 and 7, all the 9s, that kind of thing. So we don't worry about that. That'll coincide to these instructions on the next page. And as I told you, they give you a picture of what each stage of this is going to look like along the way. Now, at first, this is going to seem very confusing. But as you've done one or two of the blocks, you'll get used to it because basically each block, doesn't matter on the size or the design, will work the same way. And I'll be talking about that. So this takes you through the whole process, and there's a lot of pages to this one, and I printed them all out. And I believe there's about 95 pages as you go through. But you can see that the diagrams, they show you each piece. Some of this is strictly embroidery. Some of it is a combination of embroidery and applique. What they call it's not freestanding applique. It's just in the hoop applique is the terminology that I want to use. So you can see it goes on, and it's lengthy because they have a picture for each stage of it, and I think that's really great. It is worth the paper and the ink you're going to use to print all of these pages out. Now, here's the part they show you how to assemble it. I'll just back it up a bit. Here you go, tree skirt construction. So they show you how to put it all together. So each one of the pieces, the blades, you do have to use your sewing machine on this as well. And there is a backing. It says cut your backing according to the sizing in the supply list. And it shows you how to put that backing on. So I am going to stick with using my tearaway stabilizer as opposed to the no-show mesh, just because I want this to have a lot of body to it. So that's how you do it. Now what I'm going to show you is how I get started, how I select my thread colors, and how I select the fabric I'm going to use. So stay tuned for more about that project. Okay, so Subscribers Quilt of the Week. This comes from Nancy Rhine, and it's a beautiful creation. This week's quilt comes from Nancy Rhine, and Nancy writes, "Hi, Stephen. My name is Nancy, and I'm a subscriber to your channel. A few episodes back, you showed this pattern. I thought I'd share mine with you since it's in colors you seem to like. It was so much easier than it looks. My larger quilts go to a long armor, or I do them on my embroidery machine. On this quilt, I appliqued the petals with a tiny blanket stitch using invisible thread, and the quilting is a combination of stitch in the ditch and machine embroidery. A really fun quilt to do." Yeah, and it looks fantastic, Nancy, and I do love the color scheme that you've picked. She has a close-up here of the quilting, and you can see it is custom, and I think that little feather design in the corner works really well with it. And you can also see the tiny little stitches she was talking about in the invisible thread. Well, basically you can't see them, so that's a good thing. And here's another close-up in the border as well. And I absolutely love the quilting in this. This is a very beautiful quilt. I'm not sure what the size is. Nancy didn't say, but it is um, I believe it's a wall hanging size. I'm just looking here at what she wrote. And yeah, I'm not really sure, but to me it looks like it's probably a wall hanging size or lap size. Nancy, I'm sure you can correct me if I'm incorrect about that, but nevertheless, it's a spectacular quilt. I love the color scheme, and it just, the pop around the edge, or the black around the edges, just make those colors really pop, and the quilting is absolutely beautiful. Well done. Now, my YouTube channel of the week comes from a suggestion that several of you made to me about this Canadian. She is Canadian. I believe she's out in BC. And it's called Bags by Myrna. I hope I'm saying her name right. I don't know why I have such trouble with that name. It's Myrna. And there is a link to her YouTube channel in the show notes below. But I've also reached out to her and she has agreed, and I am doing an interview with her. And that interview will probably be posted next week. I haven't done the interview yet. I'm doing it this coming Friday. And I think it should be fascinating. She does bags, she designs her own patterns, she sells her own patterns, and the stuff looks really, really good. So here, check out her channel. This week's YouTube video is called Bags by Myra. I hope I have said her name correctly. I don't know why I'm having trouble with that name, but that's how I'm going to say it. And spoiler alert, I'm about to interview her as well. So that's exciting. But I heard people talking about this particular YouTube channel. I thought I'd check it out because I haven't made any bags for a while, but I've got a whole bunch of By Annie patterns and I do want to do some. So here's what she has to offer. Now, she's a relatively new to the YouTube world, as you can see, because she doesn't have that many videos. But let's check her playlist. And what does she have? Well, again, not a lot here, but what she does have here is high quality because I checked out her videos and her instruction videos are extremely well done. She has toolbox techniques, get the pattern. She does have patterns that she creates herself, painted projects, and scrap fabric projects. So although she doesn't have a lot yet on her channel, I think it will grow. She only has 1,100 subscribers, but I'm hoping that after I do my interview with her, that is going to change because her channel is really worth checking out. So if you're into bag making, if you want some great designs and you want some great tutorials, then check out Bags by Myra. I'm going to have to get that corrected. So that takes me to future projects. I don't say future projects from my vision board anymore because I no longer have a vision board, because when we redid the windows and doors in this house, I had to take all that stuff down off my bulletin board and I didn't put it back up because it just looked cluttered. So it's future projects now, period. And this is a free pattern by Free Spirit. It's called Constellations Quilt. Looks really interesting. This week's future project is one that I came upon by accident, and it is a free pattern, and it looks absolutely lovely and somewhat intimidating. but I don't think when you start to break it down that it's really all that difficult. It's called Constellations Quilt in Flax by Free Spirit. I'm not sure why it says in flax. It does say featuring the original Morrison Company reorder fabrics. Um, so they're using William Morris prints, but this would look lovely in whatever you pick, I am sure. And I don't think I'll be using William Morris prints when I finally get to this pattern. The finished size is 73 and 7/8 by 90 by 7/8, so that's a pretty good size. In the pattern, the free pattern, it does list in detail the fabrics that they used in the picture, but again, you can use whatever you like. Aha, now I see why they call it flax, because in the code, they're calling some of it flax. Well, there is one flax, so I'm still confused by that, but that doesn't really matter. It is very nice fabric by the looks of things, but I think I'd rather pick my own. So here you go. They have all the instructions laid out for you, what to cut, how much of it. And it looks like a lot of this is made up of half square triangles and quarter square triangles and flying geese. So not really all that difficult. It also looks like it's fairly well written from what I'm seeing right here, and lots of diagrams to show you the placement of each of the pieces. And then they have a quilt layout as well. So yeah, this is one that I would really like to do. It's on my list. I don't imagine I'll get to it until the new year, if even then. Hopefully. I see a lot of patterns that I love, but one advantage of this pattern is it is absolutely free, and the link to it is in the show notes below. And speaking of interviews, I did an interview yesterday with Monica from Mona Did What. I love that name for a YouTube channel. Mona Did What. What? Not want. Mona Did What. There's a link to her channel below, or to the interview. Excuse me, frog in my throat. And it was a great interview, and what a fascinating individual. She is in the sewing world. She doesn't consider herself yet a quilter, although she's dabbling in it, but she's definitely a sewist, loves to make bags, and she loves to rescue old sewing machines, restore them, and give them or sell them real cheap to other people who are in need of a sewing machine. I thought that was a great idea. In fact, such a great idea. I'm thinking, maybe I'll keep my eye open for some bargains for old sewing machines and do the same. But in the meantime, here's the little teaser for the full interview. I already said it's called Mona Did What, which I love the name. Why did you call it that?
My daughter and I were just goofing around, and this year has been crazy for me. I got, well, last year, I got braces, and she's like, "What? What are you doing that? Your teeth are just going to fall out for." And I'm like, "No." So it was a combination of that. And when I was growing up, I was a tomboy. So most of the people that know me would never think that I would sew or do anything like that. So it was, and Mona was my nickname.
Ah,
So I just kind of got brainstorming, and that's what it came up. And I was going to change it. My daughter says, "No, I love that name. Don't change it."
well, it's a great name because it really does attract people to your YouTube channel because you want to know what Mona did. And so that takes me to the online quilting store of the week. This one is in a place that's north of me by about 90 minutes, a place called Jackson Point, Ontario. And the store is called the Quilting Gnome. Now, I have plans to actually do a physical visit at this store. But in the meantime, I thought I'd check out their website and see what they're all about. And, well, here's my review of the Quilting Gnome. This week's online quilting store is called the Quilting Gnome, and this is located at Jackson Point, Ontario, Canada, which is about an hour and a half's drive away from me. Now, I mentioned that because I am planning to go to their store, and the reason is that their website does not show fabric. which is very, very interesting. So I sent them an email and asked them, I said, do you sell fabric or do you just sell kits? Because I don't see any fabric online. And I was told, yes, indeed, they do sell fabric. And their fabric runs in between about $16 to about $20 a meter. And they have quite a bit of it. And I'm going to insert some pictures in here as well of their store to show you what I mean. But in the meantime, let me just take a look at what else they have to offer. So on the first page, you can see they have Quilter's Advent, No Place Like Gnome for the Holidays. This is an Advent calendar of such, because really what this quilt store online seems to specialize in is kits. And I've heard that they have a lot of kits to choose from and that they're very good. So you see here, they're showing kits and patterns. They are a long arm quilting service as well. And they have a block of the month program. They have some kits on sale as well and a newsletter. So let's jump into their kits because this is what I think they are famous for. Um, so you have a Year of Art, Autumn Pillow and Wall Hanging Kit, Adventure Time Camping Kit, Ahoy Again Sailing Kit. They have quite a few kits to choose from. And you know, if you're into kits, this is a way to go because these kits would include, oh, how do you like that? They had that as a kit. I bought that one, not from them, some time ago, and I've already got the fabric already laid out for it. I just haven't got to it. Could have got a kit. But yeah, they have quite a few kits. And price-wise, they don't just seem to be that unreasonable. You see, there's 5 pages of kits. So this is a good place to check out if you're looking for kits. Shop online. Well, they have the block of the month program. They do have classes. They have clearance kits on sale. Let's check out their classes. Well, they don't have any because they're suspended. Winter 2022, nothing. So they're not offering any classes anymore. Hours and location, well, I've already told you where they're located. Now, services. They offer great selection of fabrics, patterns, tools, and notions. One-on-one consultation, instructional quilting classes for all levels, specialized technique classes for completing your quilt, basic machine quilting, hand quilting, long arm instruction, kits available in all sizes, many color choices, long arm rental, long arm edge-to-edge quilting. They say they have a complete line of batting, notions, fabrics, threads, and patterns. But they don't have those online. When I asked why they didn't have their fabrics online, they said they couldn't keep up with it. It was easier to keep in the store than try to update the website with it all the time. In my way of thinking, I don't think that's a really great excuse. I think, yes, it is complicated, but you're really limiting then your sales to those people who are not in your area. But nevertheless, I am going to make the trip to check out their store because I got them to send me some pictures of what their store looks like inside. So I'm going to share those with you right now. So here's the pictures I was mentioning of the inside of their store. And it looks like it's maybe not a huge store, but it looks like it's got a lot of fabric. There's their long arm in the foreground right there. But you can see they do have quite a bit of fabric and notions and batting. So I'm kind of looking forward to going up to the store. It's going to be a bit of a day. It's just going to be a day trip. We'll pick a nice day, and I hope to take some pictures while I'm up there of the store as I'm in it. And maybe I can do an in-person interview with the owner while I'm there as well, because I did mention to her that I would be sharing these on my YouTube channel. So that's the Quilting Gnome. And yeah, if you're into kits, I think it's worth checking out. So that whoa, rented lips. Okay, that brings me to the end of today's episode. However, before I go, I just want to put a plug out for Sean, the guy who sews. Sean and I have basically, ever since I did the interview with him, have become sort of friends, I guess. You know, internet friends. And Sean is a very, very talented quilter. Makes some really lovely creations. If you have not checked out his YouTube channel, you must. It's called The Guy Who Sews. Just do a Google search, you'll find it. But Sean has decided to start something that's kind of on the same line as I do with Craft and Chat and Pop-Up Sew Days. Last Saturday, he did sort of a sewing afternoon, and there were about 10 of us on there, and it was lots of fun. And it's one of those kind of thing that I do, just come along, work on whatever you want to work on, and enjoy, fellowship with other people. And so he's decided he would like to do this once a month, the first Saturday of every month, but he's going to do it at about 8 p.m. Now, what he's trying to do is accommodate as many time zones as he can by doing that, which is a really difficult task, as I'm sure everybody's aware of. So I think his next one will be the first Saturday in December, 8 p.m. start. Don't quote me on this. Plans can change, but I just thought I'd want to give a plug for it because it was fun. And I'm all about creators who create sew days or sew events, things like that. I mean, it's great to have all of these things to choose from. And that's one thing I think that COVID had a positive effect on. It's really put a lot more of us into the internet community, into the Zoom world, I think. And I think that's a good thing. I really do. So Sean's contributing to that as well. So I hope you'll support him with that and check out his sewing event when he announces it. Okay, so that's it for me today. Oh, one more thing. Speaking of sewing events, okay, in the last 2 weeks, I have not been online like for my sew with me, sew and craft with me sessions, which I have the link in the show notes below. I always do. That's sort of a permanent Zoom link, and you never know when I'm going to be there. But if you're sitting around and you're sewing and you want some company, click on the link. If I'm here, I will connect with you. I will connect within a minute. So if you don't have a connection within a minute or less, usually I can do it within seconds of you clicking into it, then it means I'm not here. I'm sorry, life got in the way in the last couple of weeks, so I haven't been available. I am thinking, no promises, but I'm thinking tomorrow, uh, probably around 11 a.m. my time, Eastern time. I may activate the link. I may be here. I definitely have sewing to do. Um, so I'll see about that. But anyways, just give it a try anytime that you want to sew with somebody. And as I said, if I'm here, I'll connect. Okay. Well, I hope you have a great week. I hope you're working on things that make you happy. And yeah, have a good one. We'll see you next week. Bye bye for now.